Hello, everybody. If there's anybody in here. How's everyone doing? Hey, DBK, Weirdo, Dave, Des, Purple Butterfly, thanks for being here. Hello, everybody. So, hi, Jenny Mae, Aaron. More people are up than I thought. And I know I ask this every time, but is the sound okay? I have headphones and they seem to work better, but I feel so weird wearing them. It just feels funny. I mean, they're not the greatest headphones either. So, hey, Smitty. Oh, Jenny May, I did that when I changed my profile pic to the one that I have now. It did the same thing. Like it would show up as my new picture on my channel or my page, and then once I would send a comment in the chat, it would like show up for a second, the new picture, and then it would like go away. It was really strange. I don't know if that's like the same thing that you're talking about, but a buzz. Okay, I'll put the headphones on then.
Okay, is that better? Now there's no sound? Oh, okay. I was like, wait, my mic isn't muted. Yeah, Jenny May, I don't remember I think it just ended up fixing on its own. I don't know. I don't remember actually, but I just remember that it kept switching. Or maybe it was just on my end because I remember that Dave G had said something about my picture being new, but then it wasn't showing up on my end. So maybe I don't know, maybe it just does it on whoever's end it is, I guess. Like maybe it's just on your end. But yeah, it's weird. Des Harris. So Megan, what do you think is happening in the Watch rabbit hole right now? I think it's crazy. I think it's pretty much turned into like a three-ring circus, or I sometimes call it a freak show. I mean, there's just so much going on with it, and it's crazy. I mean, obviously you guys know that, but I mean, it's just like one thing after another, and then there's people that are saying that they know family members, and then you have people that are speaking for Chris and advocating for him. I don't know. I mean, I do know, but I don't know. Yeah, it's crazy. Actually, I'm shocked every single day, but then I'm not really shocked because it seems that these kind of cases kind of bring all of that out. Like, I don't know if people are getting, like, paid to do it or if they're just it just brings out these types of people, I don't know. Hi, True Crime Jesus. What do you think will happen at 35C, a trial CW being let out? None of the above. But I've said this before, my luck, they'll pull like an Epstein on him or something, and they'll be like, "Oh, he committed suicide," or something, like, and then I'll be like, I just don't. I mean, either way, like regardless if it's my theory or if it's um based on any other theory, I just don't think that giving him a trial is going to be it's only going to like make people and stir people up more, and I don't think it would stir people up in the right way that they want to stir people up, if that makes sense. In my opinion, I think that a lot of this is for show. It's to get people distracted again. It's to keep them talking about the case, because the more people talk about the case, the more that money is being made from whomever. I'm just really surprised that they have let it go on this far. I've never seen it. I mean, well, I've never seen it in a true crime case, but in other events, I haven't seen them drag it on like this. Normally, they push a narrative, and do what they need to do for the psychological aspect of it, and then that's it. Like, it doesn't or if they maybe if they need to adjust to or fix any inconsistencies um, in order to keep pushing the narrative, because I mean things are always bound to go wrong in anything, and they definitely do in these types of events. And I hope you guys know what I mean by when I say these types of events, because obviously I can't say what I want to say. Um, so yeah, hopefully I'm being clear. But so they'll usually, fix any inconsistencies or whatever so that it keeps going back to like sticks with the official narrative. And that's pretty much it. And I don't see anything after that. But this just keeps going and going and going. Like, it's crazy. Hey, Tam Tam. Hey, so what? I hope I'm saying that right. Hi, Turquoise. Hi, Joe Dane. Joe Dane. Doe Jane. Oh my gosh. I wonder if sometimes people like to um, pick like tongue twister names so that the creator gets all like flustered and can't say it right. Like, I don't think that personally, I don't think it's going to go to trial because, and again, I'm basing this on my theory because they don't like ever go to trial. And well, I don't want to say ever, but usually they don't go to trial because, again, they would actually have to bring in actual evidence, real witnesses, um, spend a lot of taxpayer money. Like, they just don't need to do that, all that to push their agenda, um, the event is enough in itself. And that's like one of those characteristics to look out for that I keep telling you guys about, is that if it's, the case is quickly closed, either the perpetrator or the whatever, the killer, um, either commits suicide or takes a plea deal, no, I mean, or gets killed by police, no matter what it is, it doesn't go to trial. Hi, Kayla. Hi, Renee. Thanks for being here. Hi, Peggy Sue. Yeah, we see you. I see you. But I don't know if you guys saw the little short video I put out earlier about going on DLive, but um, I know I told you that I would try to post the video from DLive, like edit it as much as I could, and then put it on YouTube for the people that couldn't make it to the DLive stream. But me being me, I was like rambling all over the place. I played videos in the beginning and um, kind of I didn't hold, I mean, I held back a little bit, but I still said like the P word, and I still said a couple other words that um, I'm not allowed to say on here. So it would just be a lot of editing. I'm going to try to, next time I do a D live stream, um, I'm going to do the same thing that the channel that I told you guys about the other day, High Impact Flicks. He always has to worry about being censored. So what he does is the he'll do a live stream on DLive. So for the like first like 90% of it, he will like just be careful about what he says, and then he'll like kind of stop it there. Not really stop the stream, but he'll just kind of not be as careful. Like, so he'll make the first part for YouTube, and then this, like, the last part of it, he'll kind of go into more details or whatever that he wouldn't be able to do on YouTube. So then that way he can just, once it's over and he downloads it from DLive, he can just cut that last part out for the DLive people and then post it to YouTube. So I was gonna try to do something like that today, but of course it didn't. It's the first live stream, like Chris Watts live stream I did on DLive, so it was all over the place, but um, not too bad. But it would just be like a lot of editing, so um, I decided to come on now and just talk to you guys, since I promised I would post something. Oh, Des, I think I heard about that. Hey, hey, Luane. Thanks for being here. Jenny May. Okay, do I just watch the confession tapes on Netflix? I think there's something coming by Netflix, hence they put Betty in there. Can you elaborate on that, Jenny May? So, Jane, you have dyslexia, or you just, I don't know whether you're kidding or not, so okay, DBK. Yeah, it takes a little bit of getting used to the editing and stuff, but I hate doing editing. It's not my thing. I think I kind of do it the hard way. Like if I had a decent video editing program on my computer, I think I'd probably be throwing videos out there, but I do everything on my phone and I use like 4 different apps to like compensate for um, something that the other app doesn't have. Because even the paid versions, I paid for a couple premium versions of video editing apps on my phone, and they just, one thing always has something that the other doesn't, and it's just, I don't know. So I, even with the paid version, they're not very good anyways. So I just kind of like take a piece here and take a piece out of this app and then just throw it together, and it's really time consuming. But the last couple of videos I put out were actually not that bad. They didn't take me long, hardly at all. But um, I like to put these short videos out for you guys because I think a lot of people don't really like to listen to the lives, and of course with me rambling and always saying that I'm rambling, um, it probably isn't the best for everybody. So I like to put out the short videos just to make it straight to the point, quick, and easy. So, but I think there's just so much. I was saying this on D Live earlier. There's so much to this case. Like there's just so many. There's so much stuff that I found, and like over time, over the past year and a half. Well, year and a half for me, 2 years for some other people, because I didn't even know about the case until December. But there's just so much information. So even the information I put in all of my videos are just, it's information that I've found just over time. So it's like I just kind of like throw it into this video, and throw it in. So it's not really like organized, I guess, but yes and no. But there's so many videos that I've made like a year ago to where there's a lot of information in there, and I don't even know if people are even watching those because, or for whatever reason, I don't, it just doesn't seem like they are. Well, I don't think anybody's watching my videos hardly. I think most of um, the views I get and the subs are from meeting you guys in like chat rooms, or going into the live streams. Like if I didn't go into all these other channels like live streams, I wouldn't even probably have half of you guys. Like no joke. But yeah, so I mean, I haven't even talked about the occult symbolism in this case. Um, and that's a video that I did a while back. And it's just, there's a occult symbolism in here, and not to be confused with the whole Kessinger and being an occult thing, and pagan and the witchcraft stuff. Like the occult symbolism and numerology in this case has to do with these events, because that's just what they do. I don't know why they do it. It's like, I don't know why. They just do it because they're all about symbolism and, codes, like I said in my other videos, the anagram thing, the breadcrumbs. Like, I, it still boggles my mind how they put all this together. I mean, again, I don't want to toot their horn, but um, just the time that it would take, and that's why they take sometimes years to plan before they even happen. So And I've never seen this much symbolism and numerology and um, predictive programming in any other event like this. I mean, it's overwhelming how much there is, and I really don't think people realize how deep this case goes. Like past a cover up, you know. I mean, there was a lot of predictive programming with like um 9/11, but that was also like a really it was on a much bigger scale. So, and a lot of that could be, you know, because of the buildings being so well known, and that could be the reason why, because, you know, you see them all the time in movies and TV shows, and they're always talked about. So, but to have it in American Horror Story where it was just like one after another after another after another, and they're not ones, again, I didn't, there were more that I could have put in there, but they could have been stretching, or they could have been, you know, just everyday common things that people could relate to. Like it wasn't, they weren't specific. So I wanted to keep the more obvious ones and the more um, similar to one another, like the details of it. And there's some of them where that you just can't, like, it's just there's no you can't make up any excuses for it because they're too spot on. I mean, it literally follows the narrative. But yeah, so I've never seen so just so much that they've put into it. It's mind-boggling. And not only, because I don't know, I was gonna go back and watch it again, but I really don't know if I want to do that because it's just, I don't want to say it's not worth my time because you guys are worth my time. I'm like, it's not about the subs, or I mean, it's a little bit about the views just because everything I do is time consuming and I do spend a lot of time on it. So when I only get like, you know, a couple hundred views here and there, it is discouraging, but only for a little bit. But it's just hard to just do all that and take all the time to do it and not, you guys see what I'm saying? And not saying that anybody else that gets a ton of views doesn't work hard as well. That I'm not saying that, but um, it's just a lot of work to not get enough back, I guess. If that makes sense. That probably came out wrong. But anyway, it's not all about that, but they are time consuming. But so back to what I was saying. If you guys remember, I've said a few times that, and I don't like to use percentages because then that I get called out on it or whatever, unless I know exactly the percentage. But I will say that most of what they put in that discovery means something. Because like I always say, they only show us what they want us to see. So all these like specific, um, or most of the internet searches and the like Chris searching for the, you know, Googling Oxy or whatever, or the volcanoes, the dioptase. What else is there? whatever, you name it. Like, so it all means something, more than likely, especially with this case. And I haven't figured out exactly what the significance of the volcanoes are, but it keeps leading me back to the whole Bogota Backscatter in the book that I talked about in that video, where there's the geologist named Jim, and then there's the oil company, the CIA front oil company, and the main character in the book is a volcano researcher. So just more of their breadcrumbs, and that's not one of the more like significant, like this is exactly what it means, breadcrumbs. But what are the odds of the book being about volcanoes and geologists and an oil company called Okradana, anagram for Anadarko. Like, these are things that they're not coincidental, especially when you go and look up Chris on public records, and it shows that although he's supposed to be in prison, it shows that he lives in Bogota, Texas. So now we have not only the volcano, Jim the geologist, the volcano researcher, Okradana, Anadarko, anagram, oil company. We have Occidental mentioned in the book, and that's the company that Anadarko made the deal with right after the murders. And so now we have a public record site. And yes, do they get information wrong? It's not always correct. The birthday might be wrong, whatever. But what are the odds that this website is going to say that Chris, a convicted murderer who's supposed to be in prison, not saying that he lives in that house. I'm not implying that, but what are the odds that this website would say that he's currently living in Bogota, Texas, when I know about all the other stuff in that book that author wrote? And it just happens to be called Bogota Backscatter. And these are the types of like breadcrumbs that they leave that I'm trying to show you guys. Like, why they do it, I don't know, because it doesn't make a lot of like sense, because something like that kind of breadcrumb, obviously not a lot of people are gonna like put that together. Like, I found it, yeah, but I mean, big deal. So what is the point? Like, what are they getting out of doing that? Because that's not one of like the easier right in front of your face breadcrumbs. But again, I don't know why they do it, but they do it. And it's fascinating. I don't know. I don't know what word to use for that. Yeah, the Lucky Charms thing, I haven't figured out. I know that there's probably something with the Mountain Dew, like just everything that these people do, it means something. Almost everything. I keep saying everything, but I mean, they're good, but they're not that good. I don't know, but maybe they are. Oh, so as I got off track there, when I was talking about the predictive programming, and that most of the things all mean something or symbolize something, I watched Orange is the New Black a while ago. I don't know how long ago, but I just watched them all on Netflix because I always heard about the show and people, said it was really good. So my boyfriend and we just did a, marathon on it pretty much. But and it's funny because, like I said earlier, I was going to go back and watch it again, but I don't know if it's really worth it. I should have wrote them down when I was watching it, but I didn't, and I'll tell you why. Um, but we're watching it, and it's funny because when I watched the American Horror Story show, it was just one connection after another, and I just kept going, "Oh my god, are you serious? Not another one? Like, no, seriously?" Like, and and they just one after another. And so when we're watching Orange Is the New Black, I go, God, that sounds, because I said to my boyfriend, I said, that sounds like totally like the Chris Watts case. That's so weird. Like, why am I getting like deja vu here with like American Horror Story? Like, am I like so obsessed with this case or something? Or like, am I just Chris Watts case on the brain that I just think that everything's connected? But that's why I kind of, and there was quite a bit of them actually throughout each season again. And I just kept going, God, that sounds exactly like that's totally like okay, that's weird. So anyway, I figured no way, um, it's not even possible like to do two shows, you know, because I've never seen so much predictive programming. And then I just was watching that whole, or I don't know if I watched it or read it in the Discovery, but um, Amanda McMahon says that something about, and maybe you guys can fill me in the chat or help me out. Um, Something about, I don't know if she said that her and Chris watched Orange Is the New Black, or I don't remember, but she mentions that something about Orange Is the New Black. And I said to myself, wait, what? Did she just say Orange Is the New Black? Because again, most of the things that are mentioned in this case, they mean something. And they want us to go and find them. So I don't know if it's like excuse me. I don't know if it's like subliminal messaging, like, oh, Orange is the New Black, I should go watch it. I don't know, but I just know that it all means something. And when I heard that she mentioned Orange is the New Black, and I said, I knew it. I said, I knew it. I knew that there was something up with that show. But at the time, I didn't realize that Amanda had said that in her interview. And so months later, when I hear that, I'm like, okay, now it makes sense. Perfect sense. And I might go back and watch it again, and it was a pretty good show. But um, so it was just crazy. But again, my point is that it all means something. So the movie that she mentions, what is it? Something Island with Leonardo DiCaprio. I haven't seen it in years, but isn't it about some guy that goes crazy and um, kills his wife and kid on that island or something? Oh, Shutter Island. Yeah, and then the picture of Kessinger in front of Machu Picchu, triangles everywhere. And we know what triangles represent in Masonic land. Like, this is so crazy. I'm nervous about even saying that word. Like, that's how bad the censorship is. Charmaine Lily, thank you. I appreciate that. Sorry, I'm ahead in chat again now because I scrolled up. And I always say I'm gonna do a live, and then I was like, I'm gonna not get on a rant, and I'm gonna pay attention to what everyone's saying in the chat so that I can answer questions. And then of course I just la 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 la. But I will work on that. Um, well, before I go any further, I did want to ask you guys, um, put a put a one in the room if you, and this is if I even can, because again, I just try to make it through these lives and with no technical difficulties or anything, and try to make them somewhat smooth. But if I can multitask here, if you put a one if you don't mind the comments being put up on the screen, and put a two, wait, what did I say? If you don't, okay. One for yes, two for no about the comments on the screen. Okay, ones. All right. Well, that was a no-brainer apparently. I just asked that because I don't know. I think sometimes maybe, or I've noticed that people might not want their question, like they don't mind them in the chat, but maybe they don't necessarily want them like blasted on the screen. And then sometimes if the creator doesn't put a thumbnail up, like I know personally, like it might have been left up on the screen, and it like, not that it's anything like embarrassing or anything, but it's just kind of just right there, you know. So I mean, I always put thumbnails on mine, but anyways, I just wanted to ask you guys first because, and or see how you guys feel about it. Drive through poet, yeah, good call. Okay, so then I will try to, I don't know, because sometimes, you know, I don't know. I just wanted to ask you guys because I care what you guys think and what you guys want. And I was hoping that there'd be a lot of twos so I wouldn't have to multi. No, I'm just kidding. I'm like, come on, twos. No. Okay, so let me go back up to. And the thing about Streamyard is if you click on a comment and then you forget about it, then it goes up into the, you know, further up, and then until you click on it again, then it stays up there. So then if you forget about it, you have to go back up and, you know, scroll up and try to find it. And it's just more of a like distraction for me, but I'll try it since there's not too many people in here. Not that I usually have too many people in my chat to multitask, but I don't do these live streams like all the time like other creators, so they're pretty much used to it, I think. Okay. Let's see if that worked. Because I did want to answer Peggy's question. So she says, Peggy Sue says, Megan, my mind does not want to believe you because it's more than my mind wants to grasp. Honestly, the case leaves me second guessing everything. And I'm glad that Peggy Sue said that, because that is that's going to affect a lot of people when it comes to these cases with the and I keep saying psychological aspect because that's my term that I came up for the other acronym word that I'm not allowed to say. Cognitive dissonance is going to play a huge part in trying to get people to even want to listen to my theory. Like they'll come up with every reason or theory to convince themselves of, and of course I can't say that. I haven't found a word to replace this other one. Okay, let me reword this. Hold on. They'll just come up with every theory in the book, or find every reason why my theory is impossible in order to, because they don't want to fathom that. And this is what I talked about D-Live, and I didn't have on D-Live, and I didn't have to pause like this all the time, and I apologize for that, but it's very difficult on here. They don't want to fathom that the government is actually, and if I get in trouble for this, whatever, give me a strike. That the government might not actually be there to always protect us, or that they never lie to us. Like, people don't want to fathom that the government that's supposed to protect us and make sure everything is fine, they just don't want to go there. Does that make sense? But the issue with that is the government does lie, unfortunately, and they're not always, they don't always have our best interests in mind. And same thing goes for the mainstream media. They're there to push a narrative. A lot of, and I'm just finding, I'm learning stuff as I go along too, just like you guys are. So I don't know everything, and I don't ever want you guys to think that I'm pretending to know everything, or that I think I know everything, because I don't. um, Not even close. Like, I've learned so much from just covering this case. But so what I was going to say was, I used to think that you could turn on the news to get the news, because that's what I thought it was for. Never did I ever question, until just over the past few years, um, never did I question that they might possibly not be real stories, or they might, um, you know, be pushing some sort of agenda or propaganda. Um, I why would anybody think that? They wouldn't. But unfortunately, That's not the case. And I'm trying to answer Peggy Sue's question, but or not, she didn't really have a question, but like people, like Peggy said, she just doesn't want to like grasp that the possibility of these people actually doing this to all of us and duping us, and in order to, again, push some sort of agenda or agendas, not caring about our feelings or anything, because they don't. And unfortunately, people are shitty. I mean, that there's no denying that people are shitty, plain old shitty. And there's bad people out there. Obviously, we have murder and corruption and everything else. And when I say that, the government or police, they're corrupt, I'm not saying that all of them are, but there's corruption everywhere, and that's just what it is. So for anybody to say that our government or police are not corrupt, that's crazy. People also don't want to even think that they might have been duped. Like nobody, I guess I can't speak for everybody, but I know personally, I don't like to know that I've been duped or lied to. But for me personally, I rather say, oh, um, you know, shame on them and then shame on me, but learn from it and figure out how to not let it happen again and to not get duped again, instead of just being in complete denial about what happened. So kind of swallow your pride thing. Um, so why not learn these characteristics that they do, because these aren't going to stop. They're just not. It's been going on for many, many years. They could be huge and they can be small. Again, it just depends on the case, or the event. They can be political, they can be non-political. They're all different sizes, come in all shapes and sizes. But they're all usually going to push an agenda. And someone's always going to benefit, always. Because they're not going to do and plan all this and put all this effort into it just to only potentially gain one thing. So they're always going to have multiple agendas and things to gain. So, and now I'm getting off on a rant. So maybe I should just stop. Let me just look at the chat here. I remember my point. Actually, it's a good thing that I put these comments up, because it reminded me of what I was trying to say before I got lost in Megan Land. But again, people, as Peggy said, like she just doesn't want to grasp that this might be, and that it might be possible. And I completely understand where she's coming from. And the thing is you guys aren't gonna know these things, unless you know the characteristics, and that's why I sound like a broken record, but I just keep, even in, like, Mia's chats or anytime, somebody brings up in one of the live streams, like, American Horror Story connection or, um, one of the red flags, I'll go, "Oh, red flag number 2," and it's probably kind of annoying to people, but I'm almost trying to, like, do what the mainstream media is and kinda just beat it into your guys' head because they are important, but if you learn these characteristics, then you can know what to look for in the future. Like I said earlier, they're not gonna slow down, um, and I said on D Live earlier that I didn't know right away. I didn't, like, immediately go, "Oh, yep, this is what it is, it's orchestrated, and that was easy." No, like, I didn't even know that they even did these kind of things in, like, true crime or, like, murder cases. I mean, I've heard, speculation about the OJ case and, um, conspiracy theories about celebrity deaths and stuff like that, but, um, because normally these are on a much bigger scale. I mean, this is, like, big, but I'm talking, like, 9/11 and something along those lines, like a terrorist attack or something, Um, and now I have to be careful what I say. So I didn't know right at the beginning. Like, when I first saw Chris on the porch saying that he wanted his family to come home safe, I knew, I think almost everybody knew right away that he was lying. I just didn't know that he was lying on a different, like, degree. But so when I first heard the case, I was like, "Oh my god, like, how could somebody do that to their, like, pregnant wife, and, like, 2 little girls," So, um, I was affected emotionally just like everybody else. And that's how the psychological part of these work. So they make them so horrific. And if you've heard me say this before, I apologize. But again, everything I say is like really important. Um, so they make these events so horrific that people will respond with their emotions and they will just react. They'll just say, "Oh my God, this is so horrible. Like, how could this happen? I can't believe somebody would do something like that, especially somebody like Chris Watts. How is this even, like, possible?" Um, so they react with their emotions, and so even if it seems impossible or um, too horrific to believe, it doesn't matter because people are so just consumed with what the story and what happened and the horrific manner that he allegedly killed his family. Do you see what I'm saying? So the emotions get in the way and people don't stand back and think, like, logically, they don't think rationally. Again, even if it seems too unbelievable, it doesn't matter because now their emotions are already set in, and that's how they pull people in is by making Shanann's Facebook public and seeing her, like, smiling all the time and playing with the girls, and so now here comes the psychological part. So now people are captivated by, Shanann and feel like they almost know her because they've watched all her videos and feel like they know the girls, and it just consumes them, and it pulls at heartstrings. And like someone earlier in chat, I forgot who said that, but I'm sorry, I forgot who said that, but they said that they had the same feeling about the case that I did, but when she talked about it, people would, ridicule her, and this is not exactly what she said, but pretty much to the sense of, laugh her off and say she's crazy, or she doesn't know what she's talking, or she's a horrible person because um, she doesn't believe any of this, um, and the people that orchestrate these events, they know that, and they know that if anybody does notice their inconsistencies or speaks out about it, like myself, or any other event where the narrative has a bunch of holes in it or doesn't add up, um, the people that do speak out are going to be ridiculed and called crazy um, and shunned, pretty much. So, and that's why a lot of people are scared to point out inconsistencies in something, because when you involve emotions, that's like a whole other story. So, I don't expect everyone to just believe what I'm saying. Like, that would be ridiculous. um, but as I was saying before, sorry, um, again, I didn't just right away say, "Oh, yep, this is what's going on." Totally lying to us. Like, that, I got locked into this case just like all of you, and it just started with one body cam footage, and then it just progressed from there on. So it consumed me as well, and I didn't start noticing, because I had no reason to. What I'm saying is I didn't have a reason to question the authenticity of the case, if that makes sense. And why would I? Why would any of you guys question it? Well, you wouldn't, unless you know what these characteristics are and you are able to spot them. So initially, when I watched, I think it was the Coonrod body cam footage. Um, Sorry, I need to take a drink. When I watched the Coonrod body cam footage, I was like, okay, he's showing up for a welfare check. Oh my God, that's terrible. They're missing. But not immediately, but a little bit into the video, I couldn't help but get this feeling that something wasn't like adding up. Like, why were Nicole Atkinson and her daughter and Nicholas Atkinson allowed to go in the house? And I've said this before, but police officers don't know, regardless if it's just a welfare check, they don't know what they could be walking into, as like safety wise. Um, just because the whole house was locked up, somebody could have knocked on the door and, like, as soon as Shanann opened the door, rushed her and pushed her inside and locked the door behind. So anything is possible, and they have to be prepared for any situation. So what if there was an intruder inside that pushed his way in and locked the door, and had whatever scenario you want to think of? Or what if, God forbid, they were deceased in the house, and you know, little Madison's walking around in the playroom and stuff. What if, God forbid, she found him first? Like, it would have been traumatic. Or any scenario you can think of that, like, police just don't know. So the fact that everyone was allowed to just walk into that house and touch everything, and it's just, to me, it's not realistic. Um, or for instance, when, and again, yes, do people deal with um, traumatic situations or stress differently? Yes, and I realize that, but there was no sense of urgency when they went in the house. Like there was no calling out anybody's name. There was no Shanann, Bella, Cece. Like me personally, if that was my friend and if I was that worried about her, I would be like running up and down the stairs, yelling their names, saying, "Where are you? Where are you? I'm worried." Like everybody just kind of trickles in the house, lifts up like a pillow here. Um, I don't even know if Nicole Atkinson ever really even looked in anywhere. It just, no sense of urgency or anything. So I just got a weird feeling about it, I guess. And so, but I didn't have that outlook on the case at the time, or I didn't have suspicion. I didn't automatically just think to go there as far as like my theory. So what I'm trying to say is that I went into it the same way, in the same with the same aspect that you guys did. And it wasn't until I started noticing the characteristics that I tell you guys about when I finally was like, uh okay, something's up here. Why do I keep seeing the same characteristics that I see in the other events that I follow? Because again, like the true crime is not my like forte by all means. Um, so I was, again, I didn't even think to go there. So I was just watching the body cam footage, and then the next thing I watched was the Nate's security footage, and immediately I got this feeling that it just looked so staged. It was too convenient. It was too like Nate's camera facing right at Chris's truck, and that tree just happened to be right in the way of the front of the cab of the truck. And yes, did Chris maybe know that the tree was there and that's why he did it on purpose? Granted, yes. Like I always take that into consideration, but it just I just got that feeling that it just seemed so staged and it was just all too convenient. Um, and the fact that you could see what it seemed like to that he was loading bodies into his truck, but you couldn't actually see it. So it's almost like we're telling you that this is what he's doing, um, so you should believe that. And a lot of people do because, again, why would they have any other reason to question it in the first place? You wouldn't, or they wouldn't. Because does it appear as though he is loading something into his truck or bodies into his truck? Yeah. I mean, it does appear that way. And I mean, if that's what mainstream media told us, and if that's what the narrative told us he's doing, then that's probably what he's doing, right? Like, no, that doesn't automatically mean that's what he's doing. But again, people don't have any reason to question that unless you sit back and you look at it and kind of think logically and think, um, this is kind of a little too convenient for everything, and why is everything just so perfect? And but then it's it's like we're seeing everything but what we really need to see. Like there's another case that I brought up on DLive earlier, that I'm not going to mention because that case is crazy, but I will give an example. And some of you might know what I'm talking about, but there was another case where a young girl ended up dying in a freezer in a hotel room or in a hotel. And they released the footage, and we see on the footage that she's walking down the hallway of the hotel and stumbling, and then we get footage of her in the kitchen area of the hotel, but the actual footage that we needed to see that was significant um, was the camera that would show her actually walking into the freezer, because that was the whole controversy of it. I mean, there was a lot of holes and discrepancies, but um, everyone was trying to figure out how in the heck she got into the freezer, because she was supposedly either like drugged or drunk or something, but people were just trying to figure out the whole like freezer thing and how she can get herself back out, like open the freezer door and just let herself out, or why she would go in the freezer in the first place. Like, so the one camera that we needed to see and to confirm that conveniently didn't work, or it was malfunctioning. So again, we have the same scenario where they are telling us this is what happened. They're telling us that she was drunk or she was drugged, or she wasn't coherent, um, and that she had simply walked into the freezer for whatever reason, couldn't get herself back out of the freezer if she got locked in or whatever, and she died from hypothermia. So, do you see where I'm like the similarity with this? Yeah, somebody put it in the Laura put it in the chat. Yeah. Um, I figured you guys would know. I think I gave enough clues. Um, but do you see like the similarities as far as the narrative or the mainstream media or law enforcement saying this is what happened, and here we're going to show you, but they're not actually going to show us. So, and I'm sure there's some sort of psychological um, terminology for like believing like what someone says, and although it seems like and it appears that way, that that's what we're seeing, but although you can't really actually see it, if that makes sense, and I'll figure it out one day. But um so yeah, does she look intoxicated, or does she look like she was drugged because she was stumbling? Do we see her in the kitchen of the hotel? Yes. um but then you have that whole convenience of the camera, the one camera. All the other cameras worked, but the one camera that we need to verify how this woman um, got into the freezer, or if there was foul play, or if anybody on the other side of the wall where the freezer was had maybe done something to her. Did they put her in there? Did they lock the door behind her? And we didn't see it because the camera didn't work. So that's where we have all this like theories and stuff. It's the same thing with the Watts case. Like people were like trying to figure out and trying to solve this case, but with only part of, and I can't believe I never brought this up before because it's kind of a good example. Trying to figure out what happened to this girl um, with only half of the evidence, and a narrative with so many holes in it that they're just, theory after theory after theory. Um, so yeah, did they tell us that that's what happened? And does it appear as though she most likely walked herself into a freezer? Yes. But do we actually physically see her do that? No. However, many people are just going to accept that and believe that because it does appear that way, but then why would they have any reason to question it in the first place? Unless you sit back and, think rationally and logically and not try to think with your emotions and think, okay, that's weird. Why do all the cameras work in the hotel, but the one camera that we need to work to actually verify what happened to this woman doesn't work? And again, there's I I followed it for a little while, but that case got so crazy that it just I couldn't do it. There were so many people making videos. There was um saying no, 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 this and this and like it was just too crazy for me. But again, that's like another one of those characteristics is things conveniently don't work. Just like in the Watts case. Um, we don't see Shanann walking into the house. That's what we need to see. That's what everybody wants to see is did she get out of the car? Why is it not showing up on Nate's camera? Um, why does Baumhover's statement in the discovery say that he witnessed on the doorbell footage Shanann walk from the street up to her door when we know from Nate's footage that Nicole Atkinson pulled into the driveway and Shanann got out of the car. So to me, that's not something that if Baumhover is sitting there actually watching the footage, I don't understand how he could mistake something like that from the street to Shanann getting out in the driveway. So you just have all these inconsistencies, and then you have um, Anna Darko has, I think, Luke Epple or one of them said that they have like over 400 video cameras or something like spread out, and that the newer wells have cameras, but conveniently, uh, Survey 319 just happened to be an older well, and it was going to be dried up soon, so that's why there's no cameras. That's why there was no camera at Survey 319. So the one camera that we need, actually not the one camera, but another camera that we needed to even confirm that Chris was even at Survey 319 or that any of this event ever at 319 even, went down like that. Conveniently, nope, it's an old well. Sorry, we don't have cameras out there, but we have them at all our other wells. And here's another good example. I've seen a lot of cases where they've used CCTV footage from street cameras, freeway cameras. It's 2020. They're everywhere. I mean, it's eye in the sky all the time. So where is the footage of Chris driving to 319? Why didn't we get any of those clips from the freeway cameras? Or like their neighborhood is most likely not going to have it, but any of the routes that either parties involved in took, like we don't have any of that. And I was trying to figure out, because it's hard to prove a lot of this stuff. It's hard. It's like you can't just go and ask law enforcement, why didn't you guys get the CCTV footage? Well, actually, come to find out that Dr. B, True Psych Ward, after she had gone and got the discovery files, she stated that she actually asked Amanda Purcell if there was any footage from the CCTV cameras, and Amanda Purcell told her that they didn't bother to ask for them, and that's not word for word, but pretty much that they didn't ask for the CCTV footage, plain and simple. Why on earth would they not get that CCTV footage? Like, you're talking about a supposed like quadruple homicide here. Like, why not? Like, you're supposed to do everything, and regardless if Chris confessed or not, they still had 3 months to gather like all this stuff. And then you have the camera at McDonald's. The one inside worked, but the one conveniently that was outside didn't work. And then you have the camera at the Lazy Dog, and that one didn't record. It only just showed live footage. So do you see what I'm saying? Like, with all this, like, and I know that you guys are probably going to go into like, okay, well, maybe, Frederick Police Department and Rourke or whatever, they're just covering it. They're covering up. It's a cover up. And I can totally see why people would think that. But you have to go back to one of the biggest red flags in this case, and that is the amount of information that was released to us. No other case, homicide case or true crime case, have they released that much information. And when I say that much, I just say, because I've said this before, it really wasn't that much. Like, yes, does almost 2,000 pages, is it a lot? Have we taken a lot of time to go through all of it? Yes, but I mean, there's just so much missing, like so much missing that, and it wouldn't be in that 200 pages that are redacted. I mean, again, like the CCTV footage, like not interviewing all the family members, like it's just so half-assed. But so, like I was saying, yes, does it seem like it's a cover-up from the police department and law enforcement in Weld County? But again, go back and ask yourself why all of this stuff was released to us. And why is this the only case that nothing adds up? Like, this should be open and shut. If they're that transparent and showing us all this information, then why in the hell are there so many unanswered questions? Why are there less questions in other homicide cases where they didn't release any of the discovery or, any body cam footage or interviews? They didn't release any of that stuff, but there's less questions on those than there are on the ones that there's on this one where they're supposed to be transparent. Like, it's one of the biggest red flags is the amount of information that was released. And not only that, but nothing was redacted. Almost nothing. And why a year going into it do we find out that the document cloud discovery online, we start seeing redactions like a year later? Like, what is the purpose of that? Like, obviously there's channel creators and there's, news outlets, like they have the original discovery where nothing's redacted. So it's not like they can go and get all that back and redact it. So it's like, it's almost like, okay, so we're going to release all this information and we're not going to redact any information, but now we're just going to slowly start redacting it, and maybe people will forget that nothing was redacted before, because all of that information should have been redacted in the first place before it was even released to the public. Phone numbers, addresses, birth dates, what the women look like that wrote to Chris, minors' personal information, like that just, it's not realistic. That doesn't happen. Like, you can't just release all of these people's information, even if they said it's okay, like it's just by law, it's for their protection, especially in a homicide case. Unless someone involved is deceased or they're in prison, and I think even in prison they still have to like redact. But if let's say that the um, terrorists that just shot all these people ended up committing suicide or something, like they won't redact his social security number or his birthday or whatever because he's deceased. So all these people, all the neighbors, they're not deceased. They're very well alive, I'm sure. So I mean, as far as I know, um, like none of their information was redacted. Like that's crazy. And you're releasing their information to like thousands, and like think about how many people have watched the body cam footage and seen what the inside of their house looks like. And I know I've said this before, but I'll say it again and again. Because these are the main things that if you ever like think, okay, Megan, she makes a lot of great points, but I'm just not sure yet. So this is one of like the biggest ones, is the discovery being released in the body cam footage and yada yada yada. And also none of it being redacted. And what's funny is watching Betty's interview on her porch about the gray truck and whatever. The footage that Dr. B got from Weld County, obviously a lot of it is redacted now, which it wasn't originally in November when they released it. I just laugh because I just don't understand the point of them doing that, because we already know all the information because we've all studied it for over a year and a half, until they finally started being all sneaky and taking stuff out of the discovery and started redacting stuff like, oh, like we're just not going to notice, but they don't care. But I was watching Betty's footage. Actually, I think it was on Cher, Voices Beyond the Wall. She made a recent Betty video, and it's funny because they redacted out, with the black square, Betty's home address numbers or address numbers, and obviously they didn't do that with the original footage. We can go back and see that. I even have a video that I made that shows that it wasn't redacted. But so they have the black squares, and there's a point in the video where it moves and you can see the first two numbers, but the second two numbers are redacted or blacked out. And then it shifts again, and then now the first two numbers are blacked out and the last two numbers are visible. So it's like they redacted it, but then they didn't even do it properly. And I don't know if that's on purpose or on accident, but either way, it's like, okay, what's the point of doing that? Because so now we just got the first two, and then we just got the last two, and so we just put them together. So way to go, person in charge of redaction. But, and I'm sorry, I'm ranting again, and I know that I'm gonna have to end this soon, because once my voice starts to like crack, I sound like I'm 3 years old again. My voice used to do this all the time when I was little. But, and I'm trying not to be so repetitive all the time, because I know that probably gets annoying. Like you're like, okay, Megan, I've heard this. You mentioned it a million times, but I'm gonna keep mentioning it over and over again, because, and I don't want to come off like pushy or say, this is what this is and this is, and you have to listen to me, because I don't think that's personally the best approach to trying to not convince. I don't want to say convince, because I don't want you guys, I'm not trying to convince you. I just want you to, again, have an open mind and just listen to what I'm saying. And and you can research it. You can still find information. As I said before, a lot of it has been scrubbed, but if you dig, you can find it. But really, I'm the kind of person, I'm going to go with consistent patterns. Um, I'm more likely to go with that than to go with just theorizing about other stuff. Like, not saying that any of these other theories out there are not possible, because anything's possible, especially nowadays. I don't discredit anything. Um, but for this particular case, or whatever it be, when I see patterns that I always see in other events, and I know that they're the same patterns and the same characteristics that they use over and over and over again, I'm more likely to believe that, or be convinced of that, than I would be just speculating. Because I because we know that they do that, or I know that they do that. Other people know that they do it. But again, the people that don't know about these characteristics, or they never even heard of the P word before, there's a lot of people that haven't. And there's a ton of shit that I've never heard of, but but that doesn't make me stupid or like dumb. It's just that I wasn't told about it, or I nobody ever educated me on it. And the person has to be willing to want to find it, or want to learn it, or want to. I mean, if you have a closed mind, I mean, there's you're not going to find the things that I'm talking about, because you have a closed mind, or they have a closed mind. The people that have an open mind, and then want to learn and look at all scenarios and all possibilities, those are the ones that are not going to be duped again. Those are the ones that are going to swallow their pride and say, yeah, it sucks. It sucks that I was lied to. It sucks that I spent the last year and a half or 2 years trying to solve something that a lot of it wasn't even factual. And then there again, you see, I'm trying to watch myself here. I'd rather, again, swallow my pride and say, I mean, and it's not that easy. I don't want it to be like, oh, yep, I was lied to. I don't care. Who cares if I was duped? I'm just going to learn from it. Like, that's not what I'm saying. But sometimes it's easier for other people than it is for others. So I can't help those people, but I do want to help um, people that, or anyone. I hate when I say people. That sounds like terrible. Anyone who is willing to swallow their pride and want to learn these characteristics, so that in the future they are not victim to them again. And if I, can show people that everything is not what it seems, even if it's one person, like, to me, that um, it was worth it. I mean, it's going to take a hell of a damn long time if I can convince one person in uh, 2 years, but hey, it's a start, right? Okay, sorry. Now I just went on a rant. What time? A minute or no? Hour and a half. Sorry, guys. And then I completely forget about the chat. You guys are probably like, "Oh my gosh, she's rambling again. Here we go." And hello to everybody that has come in during my rant that I didn't see. Appreciate you being here. Okay, let me see if I can find, because I always feel like I just want people to ask questions, and even though I don't know, like, I probably can't answer every question, I just feel like not a lot of people ask questions, so I almost feel like, "Oh, everybody has no questions, they already know everything. Okay, perfect." But so I don't know if that's, like, something that I'm doing wrong, like, if I'm not, and that's why I did that community post. Am I explaining things correctly? And I was probably a little bit too slow, coming out the gate for, I mean, because for the first year, I was so worried about offending people that were affected by the case and emotionally or however they were affected, that I was not as transparent. And I think that might have been my downfall, just because now that there's so many theories, and now that, all the speculation and all this craziness and all this sideshow that's going on, people are deeply invested into this case. And so again, that might have been my downfall with not for not being as transparent. But then again, I think if I would have been uh, upfront to you guys, like, right away, especially like right when it happened, in the first year, um, I don't, I don't know, and unless I can go back in time and do it. But I think that a lot of people will probably be really defensive, because that was before a lot of people started really noticing all the inconsistencies in the case. And speaking of that, like, you guys all started to notice that something was wrong with this case. I mean, you don't have to be a rocket scientist to know that. So you guys are noticing all the same things that I noticed, but and I don't want to say, I don't want to sound like I'm like tooting my own horn, because that's really not the case. And please don't ever think that, because again, I don't know everything. And the only reason why I was able to spot them a lot sooner was because I knew what to look for, or I knew if they came up that I'd be able to spot them. And again, if you don't know about them, it's just you're not gonna know. So, you can't blame anyone for that. I mean, you can't look for something you don't know. So, does that make sense? And I don't even know what I was talking about again. I do have a point to my madness, I promise you guys. Like, this is why I used to write out everything that I said in my videos, because it would just be all like fumbled and just all thrown together. It just speaking again is not my forte. So, but a lot of it does have to do with there's just so much information. Like, I just want to, like, not scream it to you guys, but I just want to go, you guys, like, this is what's going on. Like, like, not really shake you, but like, please, just listen to me. But I can't. And I don't want to do that again, because the person has to be willing, again, to maybe admit that, um, what I'm saying is true. And people have told me that before. Like, um, I was talking to Chica, and she she didn't find my channel until, or I'm talking about Chica Chicken Head. A lot of you guys know who I'm talking about, but she ended up commenting on one of my videos one day, and she was like, "Oh my god!" I was like, "I'm so glad I found your channel because I have been watching all these videos and I haven't seen anything, and I'm like, I think the same thing you did." And so like it was kind of like a weight lift off my shoulder because I've almost felt like I didn't kind of, not that I need someone to like back me up, but um just someone to like just reiterate what I'm saying. And like, so for her to find my channel, it was just like kind of a relief. And I was like, oh my gosh, you think you really do? Do you think that? Like you think the same thing as me? Okay, great. So but she also knows about the characteristics as well. But that's because either she went and searched it herself, and or somebody explained it to her, like from watching other truth truthers, I guess they call them. Um, and because she has an open mind, and because she's willing to admit when um, that she was duped, you know. But anyways, my point is that um, I feel like I've just been by myself through this whole thing. So it's like it was just it's nice to have her there to just kind of give me some support, you know, in the chat or whatever. And um, yeah, I'm like, yeah, just looking at the chat. Oh, I just remembered my point. So my point is that people have told me, oh, and that's why I brought up Chica because, you know, I've talked to her about it, and I said it's just I feel like so frustrated, and so like I feel like I just want to quit because either like I'm doing something wrong, or I just I don't. It's just like it just gets frustrating, I guess. But I always remember that again, like I can go and talk to other truthers, or people that know about all this stuff, or know that the government is corrupt, or know um, that mainstream media is always pushing a narrative, or a lot of what they put out is false. um, I could go over there and tell them, but they'll be like, okay, yeah, so what do you want me to do about it, you know? Because they don't like, they already know about it. So my motive for, I don't like to say motive, but my reasoning for starting the channel was because like I'm that confident in what I'm saying, because again, I wouldn't be up here um, doing what I hate to do and speaking, regardless if it's behind a computer screen or not. I wouldn't, trust me, I would not be doing this if I wasn't like 100% confident in what I'm telling you guys. And so I originally started my channel because I noticed that there were channels that were putting out disinformation, not misinformation, but either that, well, disinformation or misinformation, that they weren't coming out and admitting or fixing it, or whatever. So anyways, spreading disinformation about the case. And so there was a couple of videos I made that debunked them, and but then it was like it was all the time. So then I would just be literally there's no way I'd be able to keep up with all the disinformation in this case that the other channel creators were spreading. Um, and it spreads like wildfire. It's like somebody says Kessinger was in Arizona, and people just like it's frustrating because people just believe it, and it's like I'm not saying that you should just not completely like just not trust anybody. You have to trust some people, but that's why people build trust. They earn your trust, you know. So and if anybody's going to put out information and say or try to make it seem that it's factual or say that it's factual, then they better have some sort of source or something to prove it, you know? And yeah, you can theorize and stuff, but for example, on D Live earlier, I said, let's say I told you guys, I said, oh, I have this crazy story, right? So a year ago, I was at the Grand Canyon with my family, and silly me, you know, call me Grace, I stumbled and fell off the Grand Canyon, but I survived. Because obviously, because I'm talking to you, I survived. You know, broke a couple bones, whatever. I was in the hospital for 6 months, you know. But does that make it true? I mean, it's pretty unbelievable that I could survive after falling off the Grand Canyon. It's actually like not possible at all, unless you're like immortal or something. But I have a point, I promise. So I can tell you that a year ago I survived falling off the Grand Canyon. Um, but it doesn't make it true because I'm not showing you, unless I'm showing you video footage of me being like gurneyed out of the Grand Canyon or air vac'd in a helicopter, or but see, then I say that, and then even that doesn't make it true because me being in a like a gurney going to helicopter doesn't mean that I fell off the Grand Canyon because you didn't actually. Okay, here's a good point. You didn't actually see me physically fall off the Grand Canyon. Now, there might be news footage saying, "Oh, Megan J, she has this, or this woman, she fell off the Grand Canyon, but she survived. Like here's her being um, air vac'd into the helicopter to go to the hospital." You know, but miraculously she survived. But it's one of those things where it's like, oh my God, she survived? Or is it, wait a second, like she just fell off of the Grand Canyon. Like, how the hell did she survive? You know? So it's like you question that because it doesn't seem likely that I would survive. But mainstream media told you that and showed you a video of me being air vac'd to the hospital. So that must make it true, right? Or no? And then here I am a year later talking to you guys. Well, you guys can't see me, so you can't see if I was like in a wheelchair or something. But okay, this is like probably not the best example, but hopefully you see where I'm going with this. So if mainstream media tells you this whole story that I survived, it's like, oh my God, that's amazing. How like she's so lucky. Um, is it? Then you kind of like sway and you go, but did she, like, how could she have survived that? But then it's like, but she survived, so that's amazing. That's all, you know. So it's like, but so why would you question it? You know, like why would you go, Megan? you're lying. You didn't, and start pointing fingers and go, you're lying. You didn't fall off the Grand Canyon and survive. And then you know what? Everybody that is emotionally affected by my accident says, how dare you? How dare you question Megan J and say that she didn't survive off the Grand Canyon? What kind of sick person are you to just accuse this woman who just almost died and spent 6 months in the hospital, in a coma, um, and you're going to sit there and say that she's lying? How dare you? So even though you're like kind of like I don't think that's really possible. Like the kind of Grand Canyon's kind of far down, and I don't think she could survive. But then once the attacks start coming in, and you get called crazy and a terrible person for even fathoming that I could possibly have fabricated this whole thing, and I didn't really fall. Like, do you see where I'm going with this? And I'm kind of glad I brought this up because I'm kind of like going with something here, kind of pretty good. But again, it might not be the best example because I should probably have used one that's more of like closer to the case as far as emotions go. But hopefully, you guys get like the sense of what I'm getting at. So again, just because I said that I survived, it doesn't make it true. But then it's like, why would she lie? Why would she have anything? Why would Megan J lie about something like that? Like that doesn't make any sense. So, um, I mean, so even though it doesn't seem logical or possible that someone could fall off the Grand Canyon and survive, she has no reason to lie. And why would somebody do something like that? So, I mean, so it's got to be true. I mean, we're sitting here on her live stream listening to her, and she's fine. I mean, she's telling us, but did you actually see me fall off the Grand Canyon? Were you the one that pushed me, or did you see any video footage of the doctor actually physically like putting my bone, that I broke my arm and then putting it back in place? Like, were you one of the doctors that stitched me up? Like, that's what we're dealing with the Watts case, because there's a lot of information that even though I say do your own research, and as far as that goes, like there's a ton of things that we're not ever going to be able to vet for ourselves because we just can't. For instance, like unless that you're actually Chris or somebody who is involved in this whole thing, or the one that planned it, or you're actually physically like in the cell next to Chris, or you eat lunch with Chris, like unless you're that person that you have like you're in that place, there's going to be no way to vet it. And they know that. They know that people aren't going to be able to vet this information. Even if we call the prison and say, "Hi, I'd just like to know, is Chris really there?" And they go, "Yeah, of course he is. Why wouldn't he be?" "Oh, okay, click." So, but just because this woman that works at the prison said, "Yeah, he's there," that doesn't make it true. And I know that kind of sounds crazy, but it really doesn't. And unless, and all these people that are coming out and saying, "Oh, I talk to Chris every day," like, you know how easy it is to like fabricate a phone call, to like, there's so much like CGI nowadays where you could make anything look like anything they want people to believe. Like, things can be so deceiving, and that's what I'm trying to show people, is that it's all hearsay. And that's the trouble that we have with this, is we only have half the evidence, and we don't even know if that evidence or that information is even factual because there's so many holes and discrepancies. So, and I get that we're not going to be able to vet this information for ourselves, so that's why you have to kind of take it with a grain of salt. But then it again leads back to the whole, well, why would they lie, or why would you even question it? But once everyone started seeing all these inconsistencies and all these holes in the narrative, you know, that's when everyone started to think logically and rationally and say, hold on, wait a second. Why are there so many inconsistencies in this case? Why is nothing adding up? Like we've gone through the whole discovery, but nothing makes sense. Why does nothing make sense? So that's when everyone starts kind of like going, putting their emotions aside, which is good, and going, hold on, something's not right here. Regardless if it's a cover up or if it's whatever the reason, we can all agree that there's something wrong with their narrative and it doesn't add up. And that's why we need to figure out why. So back to my point is that just because I told you I survived off of, I keep going back and forth. I know I'm terrible. Um, I need like a little like fairy or something to just like go like pinch me on my shoulder and go, getting off track. Nope, stop, pinch. Um, actually, that'd be pretty annoying. But anyway, so again, do you see kind of see like the point I'm trying to make as far as not believing everything you hear? So, for example, I brought this up in another live, but I saw a Forerunner that looked exactly like Kessinger's. Dark rims, white. It even had a little camper on top, like she was going camping. And I could be like, "Oh my God, that's Kessinger's car." She's in Arizona, and she loves to camp. There's a camping equipment on top, so I could totally come on or have come on the next day, did a live, and said, "Breaking news! You guys are never going to get this or believe this. Kessinger is in Arizona. I saw her Forerunner. It's there. She's with Jim." And please don't think that I'm like making fun of anybody because I'm not. I'm just trying to make a point. But I saw her. She's with Jim, and they were at a Mexican restaurant. She loves tacos. You see what I'm saying? Because she's like, oh, we had tacos. Um, and usually we go to channel creators, to get information that's factual. Because either we don't want to do it or we don't have the time to do it because we have jobs or families. So we go to the channel creators to give us that information, and that information that they're giving should be factual, and they should be able to show some sort of source again or proof of what they're saying. And I don't know how many times I've seen, it's just really frustrating, but that I've seen a channel creator say something and everybody just go, seriously? Oh my God, that's crazy. Like, I can't believe, like, it's just, it boggles my mind because, but I understand where they're coming from because, you know, they go to these channel creators to get the information on these true crime or whatever, politics or whatever channel it is. Like, people go to them and watch them because either they're entertaining or whatever it may be. But when you're presenting things as factual and there's really no other proof besides he said, she said, or this person um, is coming on here on panel and saying, I know this person, like, it's all hearsay, and it's just frustrating because well, not only does it like set me back a year every single time it happens, and I almost have to like start all over again, but I just it's out of my control, but I feel bad because I know that a lot of people go and they believe that they're getting the truth when they're really not, and that sucks. But back to my point, just because I said I've, survived after falling off the Grand Canyon, or that if I come and tell you guys that I saw Kessinger, like, that doesn't mean it's true. And um, even though the person, like, you guys would say, well, Megan J has no reason to lie. Why would she lie about, well, this is gonna, like, totally probably backfire on me or something. But um, but no, actually, that same thing goes for me. Like, I don't want you guys just to believe me because I'm telling you all this. I want you to write this stuff down and take note of it and go, and if, I, like I said, I try to provide sources. Um, but again, a lot of it's been scrubbed. And I know I've said that before, but I don't expect you guys just to believe me because I say this is what it is, and I'm confident in what I'm saying, and so like, that doesn't mean anything. Like, I can tell you that I have never flip-flopped and that I'm 100% confident in this case, which I do mean all of it. But I could totally be lying to you guys. I could totally be deceitful. I personally am not, but that's up to you guys to decide whether or not you think that I'm being truthful, or that what I'm saying has, what's the word I'm looking for? Not value, but that what I'm saying to you is, like, truthful, and that you can find the information, and that I'm not just throwing all this, like, hearsay stuff at you guys. Like, do you see what I'm saying? Like, I just feel like I'm just, like, all over the place. I'm sorry, guys. And people said, "Well, Megan, you can't. You have to trust some people in your life sometimes." Yeah, and I understand that. Like I said before, people have to earn trust, and I'm not saying that you can't not to trust anybody. Like, I'm not saying you shouldn't trust your mother. You shouldn't, like, that's completely ridiculous. Like, I'm not saying that all at all. But again, if the person putting out this information is saying for a fact that this is what happened or whatever, then they should be able to back it up. And if they're just saying that they saw somebody, or um, they saw this specific person at an amusement park or whatever, like, that should be taken with a grain of salt and should always be considered hearsay, until otherwise proven as factual. You see what I'm saying? You see what I'm saying? Like, my voice gets all high. You see what I'm saying? Um, I just, like, again, I don't ever want to be disrespectful to anybody, and um, I'm just obviously passionate about this, and um, so I do want to apologize if I don't ever want to make you guys feel like I think I'm more intelligent than anybody else, because I don't think that. And it just, again, comes down to me being educated in this particular aspect of it. And if everybody just, after the first video I made and came out and was more transparent, if everybody just believed me, then the whole psychological aspect of it would not be very good on their part. Let's just say that. And I know that these um, prison calls that come out, it's like, but Megan, like he's in a jail, like obviously he's in a jail, he's talking to his family on the phone, like, and I totally get that. I totally see where you're coming from on that. However, it's not that difficult to put a man in an empty, not jail cell, but a phone area, um, and put another person on the other side, video record it, and put it out in the public, which is very odd that and the timing of it and just why, back to all that. But and release it to the public so that it pushes some sort of an agenda or whatever the reason may be, and people are just going to believe it because they have no reason otherwise to question it. Do you see what I'm saying? Like I think it's kind of like, I don't know, similar maybe to like the moon landing thing. I don't know. I probably should just end this live because I'm just going to get way off track. But I'm trying to just make examples because I I just want you guys to know that I understand where you're coming from. And again, I don't expect you to just right off the bat say, "Oh yeah, yeah, I think, Megan, she's making sense." Like right off, I don't expect after one video or something a year ago for you guys to just believe me. I would never expect that. But I truly believe that you guys do have an open mind and you're here because you are interested in what I'm telling you, and you're able to look at all the possibilities, even if it might sound crazy. So, and I thank you guys for that and sticking with me. But see, I got off track. The moon landing thing, right? So, take for instance, like our parents. Um, I probably shouldn't even bring up the moon landing thing because I like we literally can't talk about anything anymore. We can't. It's crazy. Okay. How can I say this? I might not even have to even go into it. You guys might already kind of know the point I'm getting at with it already, but I personally don't believe everything that we were told about the moon landings, specifically the Apollo 11. And um, believe it or not, I got into like flat, I can't say that either. I got into a different shape theory of the Earth, and I think I just like growl? Oh, that was weird. Okay, a different possible theory shape of the Earth might be. Get where I'm going? Get picking up what I'm putting down? Okay, I'm getting goofy. Uh, for about a couple of years prior to the Watts case and prior to another event that I followed extensively. Well, I guess I did both at the same time. But anyway, so that was a rabbit hole I went down prior to this. And I did a lot of research on it and looked at, you know, everybody else's point of views and stuff. So, I really started to question like everything we were told about that event because so many other people were, and I think that's kind of where I ended up today, like with you guys, is um, it was I just started being interested in one thing, and then it just led into another, and then things that people were saying kind of made a lot of sense. Like, oh yeah, why that doesn't make sense, or why would they tell us that? And that does seem weird, or um, and then I think it just all started from there, and that's again how I probably ended up here. But um, my point is, I was trying to tell my mom these inconsistencies and stuff like that, but when you try to, well, I knew that, like, just throwing it at her and saying, "Mom, like, this just wake up. This is not it's a lie," like, that to me, that's not the best way to go about it, or try to convince my mother of all people, that something that she witnessed for herself, and that okay, this is another good example, actually, I think. I should probably write this stuff down, but it's never mind, I could just watch it later. Okay, anyways, bear with me, we're almost done. Um, Trying to convince someone that was there when it happened. So she wasn't, like, there, like, she wasn't an astronaut on the moon, but she witnessed it on the television. She watched it happen, the first step, the whole shebang. Um, so to try to convince anyone who experienced the same thing that my mom did, and years later, and try to say that, that it didn't go down the way it did. That's what I'm gonna start saying now instead of the other one. Didn't go down the way we were told, um, is not gonna be the simplest thing to do. You see what I'm saying? But I was trying to convince her of kind of the same thing with, um, Chris loading the bodies into his truck, the whole footage. Like, they'll say, "But I saw it happen on the television." You saw what looked like this was happening on the television, but it doesn't necessarily make it true, because it's on the television and you weren't actually there. And especially, like, our parents back in the day or whatever, like, they really couldn't probably fathom that the government was capable of, lying to us, especially on such a massive scale. Um, and that many years after it happened, like, it's not a simple thing, or not easy. I know that I definitely wouldn't be able to just go, "Oh, okay, well, they lied to us about it. I thought I saw it on the television, but, well, if that's not the case, then so be it." Like, no, that's not I wouldn't expect anybody to do that, because try convincing someone who believed that they saw something happen, even though it appeared that way. But again, this comes to the whole, why would the millions of people even question that it might not possibly have gone down the way that they were told? And that's almost like, kind of like where I am now with, like, you guys, is 2 years later, and you guys are so invested in this case, and you all, a lot of people want justice for, the victims, and I get that. So, in a similar kind of way, it's kind of like the same thing with my mom and the moon landing, and you guys and the Watts case. Does that make sense? I should probably work on my comparisons here, but my point is that, or not my point, but what I was getting at is, slowly over time, I did the same thing to my mom with the moon landing that I'm doing with you guys, and I just would say, "Yeah, but what about this, mom?" Or like, "What? Why do you? I mean, how could they have done this?" Or, um, granted, it took a TV show for her to, like, see what I was talking about, because, of course, that's the thing. It's like, kind of like, not that she doesn't believe me, but she's more likely to believe, like, a professional, um, let's say, like a physicist or something, or uh, whatever, someone that's educated in that, and that's the profession. She's more likely to probably believe them over me, and I understand that. Um, but it was nice because they were saying the same things that I had already previously told my mom about the moon landing. So it helped in a sense, but then it's kind of like, hello, I just told you that, like, and just psh, right over your head, one ear, not the other, but um, that's okay because I slowly just kept over time and like I didn't bombard her with it. Same thing that I'm not doing with you guys. Like I'm not just saying, listen, this is what it is, and then you have to believe me, and that's it. And if you don't believe me, like you're stupid. No, that's not the way to go about it. So gradually I would just kind of, I wouldn't push her limits, and I would just kind of throw something in there and here and there or whatever. And like, I mean, now she's woke. Is that what they say? She's awake now. Like she's still like not fully, she's still on the fence about everything, and that's totally okay. But at least she's asking questions and she's going, you're right, Meg. Like maybe that doesn't make sense, or how did, and I can't use examples because I don't want to get a strike. But and I'm totally ignoring the chat, and I'm so sorry, but I just feel like I shouldn't stop myself when I kind of I'm in the flow a little bit, sort of. Um, but you guys don't mind, right? I hope those examples, the Grand Canyon, probably again not a good example, and the moonlit. But I mean, I know that that's on a much bigger scale, but again, I still think it's kind of like the same thing. So I didn't bombard her with it with all this, and just because throwing all of that information at a person or someone who has believed for many many years that that's what they saw would be crazy to do, and people are just going to most people are going to get defensive and they're going to back away and um, they're not gonna want to listen to you. Do you see what I'm saying? So, and I got that sense from my mom when I at first when I started throwing it all at her, and so I backed off and again just here and there, whether it's a week later or a month later, whatever, and say, see, that doesn't make sense, does it? Or that's weird, or why doesn't that add up? And she's not fully convinced, but she's finally asking questions and she's thinking logically and she's going, you're right, Megan, you make a lot of sense. Like, I mean, maybe I'm not fully convinced of what you're saying, but I do agree with you that there's inconsistencies and, you know, um, definite like questions should be asked about it. So my point is that I don't expect you guys all just to just believe it, especially since you guys are all invested in this case so much. And I know that that plays a huge that's a huge like what am I trying to say? It's really not helping me in my whole um goal here. So, but again, that's how these psychological wonderful, lovely how else can I say it? You know what I'm trying to say? That's how they work. And they work well. And they know that the people who speak out about it are going to be shunned, and as someone mentioned in the chat earlier, and I'm sorry that I forgot who it was, but I'll go back and look at the chat later. But she said the same thing that many others who have spoke out or questioned official narratives that have holes in them or that don't add up, who want to think logically and who want to think rationally and take a step back and say, "Whoa, wait a second, something's not right here." Like when she did that with this case, she was attacked and she was belittled, and how dare you? How dare you even question that such a thing might be possible? So and that's again why they make them so horrific, so that people get their heartstrings pulled and their emotions run wild. And when someone hears something like that, they immediately go on attack mode and say, "You're crazy," and "How dare you?" So that's why people that notice the inconsistencies or want to ask questions, they won't for fear of being attacked. And I'm not gonna lie, I have that fear to say. Like it's probably a good thing that my channel is small because the last thing I want is people like saying horrible things to me. So so that has a lot to do with me holding back, but it also doesn't help now that I can't pretty much say any of my theory because it's in the guidelines. So now it's like double attack here where it's like mm, kind of in a hard place here. But I was finally to the point at where I'm like, I either need to choose whether or not I care about what I care about more, not hurting people's feelings or um, getting the truth out there. And I decided that getting the truth out there is more important to me. And if people's feelings get hurt, then I don't want to say too bad, but it's like, then they're just not ready for what I have to say. Um, and they probably will most likely never be ready. Like, you can't force someone to believe what you're saying. They have to want to believe it, I guess. See what I'm saying? Like, do you see what I'm saying? I feel like Chris and Kessinger's like is you see what I'm saying tonight? I don't know how many times I've said it, probably like 15 times. Okay. Um, it's funny because whenever I go back to the chat, I'm always thinking, I wonder if they're even talking about anything that I'm saying, or are they just talking about today's football game or um, what their boyfriend said. I don't know, something. I just laugh about it. It's funny. Um, and then I always tell you guys that I'll go back. I always go back and watch and see what you guys are saying when I get on my rants. But like I said earlier, when I go back to the chats, there's really not that many questions from you guys. So again, I don't know if like tell me if it's something that I'm doing wrong. Am I not explaining things clearly? Because I feel like if people aren't asking me questions, I feel like I'm not doing something right. And it's kind of difficult now because if anybody asks like the $1 million question or the couple of $1 million questions, I know that I can't freely come out and say it, unfortunately. So that's why I've been promoting this whole D-Live thing, because as of now, there's not nearly as much censoring going on over there. And so that doesn't mean that it's not going to happen, but I'd like to use it to my advantage um, while I can. And it's not like I'm like backing down to the YT powers that be, but I've also worked hard to get where I'm at right now, even if it only is 1,500 subscribers. Like regardless, it took me 2 years to get you guys to find me or to listen to me, or um, it took a long time for me to get the 1,500 that I did. And last thing I want to do is lose it um, because of something I said. So I don't want you guys to think I'm like back, because I don't care. I'll say Kessinger, I'll say Rusex, I don't care. That doesn't bother me. That is, it's a public case. It's a high profile mainstream case that unfortunately has everything out there about them. So we are allowed to talk and say that, like, you can't tell us that we can't say their names. Like, that's, I will never not say their names. Sorry, I just won't. It's not in the community guidelines that you can't say people's names. So I'm not going to cater to that. So if it does say it specifically in the guidelines, I won't say it, because I know that my channel will be gone. So um, I don't know why I'm trying to justify myself, but anyways, um, again, where was I at? Wow, I'm like really terrible at this. I need like a interpreter or something, like an English interpreter, even though I speak English. That'd be weird, huh? Okay, that'd be kind of funny. It's like, oh, I thought this was Megan J's channel. Oh, it is, but she has an interpreter for her lives. Like, that's not Megan's voice. Yeah, I know. I just said it's her interpreter. But why does she need? She doesn't speak it differently. She speaks English. Yeah, I know. Just go with it. Um, I don't remember what I was saying now. I don't remember. It'll probably come to me. Oh, I remember. Um, the questions thing. Like, so again, I feel like I don't have many questions asked about it. So I don't know. Can you? Hopefully, you guys can kind of help me out here and tell me again if I'm doing something wrong. And I know I did that poll, but again, those aren't accurate at all. Like, not accurate at all, but they're not 100% accurate, because who knows who comes across it and goes, oh, I'll just click yes and I'll click no. And I think that's this. And, I mean, how do I know who actually like votes realistically? So I'd rather hear it straight from the source and not hearsay. You see where I'm going with that? But then again, you guys could be clone names, and then that could be a lot. No, I'm just kidding. Um, but no, I'm interested in what you guys have to say as far as like, because I want people to ask questions. Like, and even if I can't answer them, I'll try with the best of my ability. But I really don't get that many questions. So I just want you guys to tell me or help me to make it better for like all of us. You see what I'm saying? Like, I don't want to waste your guys' time, and I don't want to waste my time going in circles or getting nowhere. Like, I'd rather hear it from you guys and give me constructive criticism, or just tell me what I need to do so that we can get further. Does that make sense? I'm just kidding. I said that on purpose. Oh, a question. Yay. Well, let me see if I can put it on the See, now I'm trying to put the comment up and then get distracted. Oh, hi, Angelina. Okay. Uh, I don't know where it is, guys. But oh no, I lost the question. Where'd it go? Oh, okay. Drive-through poet. Um, do you think he actually put the kids into the? Okay, sorry. See, I do that and then I forget that because I think in the chat it's not as like if you guys kind of discuss it, it's not as bad as if I actually say it on the live stream, and I think they might be cracking down on the actual like live chats, but then I forget that if you guys that's why it's so frustrating for me because if you guys I just got done saying that I want you guys to ask me questions and then now, you know, Jaisu Post asked me a question and then I had to stop myself because I'm like, wait, is this going to be against guidelines? So now I feel bad because I just said, why aren't you guys asking me questions? And then now I'm going to say, I can answer your question. So that's why it's like really frustrating for me. And I'm having to struggle even more getting my words out and my thoughts out to you guys with the whole not being able to say what I want to say thing. So just please be patient with me and thank you for being patient with me throughout it. But so I'm gonna have to like read the questions first before I read them out loud. But I think this question's okay. Um, do you think he actually put the kids into the hole in the oil batteries? Why were they in separate one? Oh, three questions. Okay. Why Barry Shanann Watts so close? Um, do I think that Chris put them in the oil tanks? No. So that kind of like answers the second question that you have because it doesn't that being said, it doesn't matter like based on my theory why he put them in separate oil tanks because based on my theory, they weren't ever in there. So that kind of like cancels that next one out. But um I could go into the whole symbolism and occult side of it, but I'd rather like not go into that tonight. Um that could be a different live, but because there's so much, you guys, there's so many breadcrumbs that they've left us. It's insane. Like I don't even I can't even hardly fathom it. You see how like my voice changed like there? Well, it's changing because I've been talking so much. But like there's just so much to this case that people don't realize. Like and I say that and I realize it, but I'm still even in shock how like much detail and breadcrumbs, I call them breadcrumbs, and symbolism like have gone into this case and I've again seen them in other events, but this one is crazy. I've never seen so many in my life, my whole life. Okay, so and then why are they in some? And then why bury Shanann so close? Um, I don't know why he would bury Shanann so close, but then it's kind of like I kind of like don't I can't answer that question because based on my based on my theory, and it's like it again. This is frustrating because if anybody new comes in to my lives and I'm sitting here talking in code and fumbling and pausing every 2 seconds and going, you guys know what I'm saying, right? And you get what I'm saying. And do I make sense? They're not. They're gonna think I'm a crazy person. and they're gonna be like, "What the hell is wrong with that woman? She makes no sense at all." Um, so again, it's like frustrating because I can't just come out and answer questions and say what I want to say based on my theory because it's against the rules. Bottom line. And I already have one strike, so maybe I don't. Maybe I'll just send like a smoke flare one day. I don't know, and then I'll just. I don't know. I don't know how to tell. I can't write it in my description because of algorithms. I can't say it on a live because that's walking on eggshells. Um, I could say it in other. And now I'm going to get off on a rant again, and I'm going to go back to your question. I promise. Um, and I've talked about it. Sometime you guys have seen me discuss my theory in other channels, but I'm almost to the point now where if I bring it up, I feel like I'm either because I've like been in the chats so much now and I know all of you guys. I don't know you, but you see what I'm saying? Oh my gosh. Um, I'm back to the point of not wanting to disrespect um, these other channel creators like Mia that I've, you know, got to know over time. And the last thing I want to do is bring any negativity to her channel or anybody else's channel that I respect. And Mia's let me talk about my theory openly, but I'm at the point where it's almost like it's not the right place and time. Like I feel like it should be only done on my channel now. Um, and again, that's difficult because unless I can freely talk about my theory, then I'm not going to get anywhere. I'm not going to. It's just not going to get anywhere. And then a couple for a couple of channels, I'm a moderator, like which is I have no problem like helping out, and I don't know anything about moderating, but um, the channels that I do mod for, I respect and want to help them. But then it's like, since I'm a moderator now, and people recommended me to be a moderator. Like I didn't ask to be. And I was like flattered that they, thought that I could be responsible enough or whatever, to be a moderator. And I appreciate that. And again, I have no problem helping out these channel creators, but I'm in a difficult position because now I am a moderator and I can't. There's no way I can like go. Yeah, I think this and this and this because I'm a moderator, right? And the last thing I want to do is again disrespect that channel. So I'm kind of in another hard place. So or rock in a hard whatever, whatever the saying is. Um, so there's a lot going on with me right now. But yeah, it's just really difficult. And again, appreciate you guys sticking around and listening to me babble. And just hopefully you guys can understand where I'm at with this. And it's not, I'm not trying to like confuse anybody. I'm not trying to um, run circles around it. I'm like, I don't know what else to do because I'm running out of options as far as talking about my theory. So please do still ask questions. I don't want you guys to be like, well, she said that she can't answer these, tough questions or whatever. Like, that kind of backfired on me. But please ask the questions and I will write them down or I will screenshot them. And when I, can answer them, I will, but it's just really difficult in the live. And that's why I'm trying to get you guys to go over to D Live while I still have my freedom of speech before that goes away too. So, okay, so the last part of your question, why did he bury Shanann? That, yeah, I don't know. And again, that's difficult for me to answer because I don't believe that's what went down. That's just what I'm going to say from now on. I don't believe that's what went down, and I don't. Yeah. Okay, maybe I should just end this live because this is really not working out for me. And I feel really bad now because now I can't answer your question. And a lot of you already like get what I'm saying, but if anybody is new, they're gonna think I'm a whack job. I'm gonna be the newest whack job on the covering the Chris Watts case. Great. That's okay. So I'll tell you what, I'll get back to you on the whole entire question. Is that fair? I promise. I'm just reading the chat here. Okay, so here's a question. Doe Jane, that's like I have to say that slowly. Um, she asked, why didn't we see any autopsy pictures, and why do you think that is? Um, again, because well, I'm pretty sure that a few people in chat that do know my theory, like 100%. I've already saw one person put it in there. Um, maybe hopefully they're helping me out here, but that's one of those like red flags that I talked about in my red flags video and the characteristics that I and the patterns that they use. Like, so one of the red flags in these events, if they fail to provide any some sort of or any sort of proof that there were actual see God, this is so hard. Okay. Because I can't even say the V word. V as in Victor. Because that word is specifically in the guidelines, and I can't say it. I don't know how else to say it. I've already used other terms like for and reworded stuff already. It's like I can't speak in code all the time to you guys. I just can't. There's just no way around some things. And I can't just keep saying because that's not the way that actually happened or that's the narrative is wrong. Like it's not specific enough to your question. So, but I can't answer the part about the autopsy photos. So it's a red flag when they don't show any proof of evidence of of what we were told. Oh my God. Lord help me. No. Um, I don't know how to answer that question. This is so terrible. I'm like, come on, you guys, ask me questions. Why aren't you guys asking me any questions? What the heck? And then the first two that I pick, I can't even answer them. Like this is my point. If if it's not just when I say my theory, I mean there's a ton of other people out there that think the same thing as I do. So I don't want to say my theory, but I mean essentially it is my theory because I'm the only one talking about it. So it's my theory, okay? um, if my theory and what I'm trying to tell you guys is specifically in these YT guidelines, um, to me that's telling. Um, it doesn't say in the guidelines that you can't speculate if there were accomplices. It doesn't say, because it has bullet points of what you under each category, like hate speech and bullying and whatever. It has bullet points, and then underneath the bullet points, it gives an example for each bullet point, right? So not only is my theory specifically in one of those bullet points, um, it's also in the example given for that bullet point. So um, it doesn't say, again, like it doesn't say you can't accuse the DA of prosecutorial misconduct or a cover up. It doesn't say that you can't accuse the mistress of being an accomplice to the murder. Like, it doesn't use that specific example or any, like, those are just a couple examples. But in the example that they use is specific to my theory on the case. So why that example? Why not anything else? Why not any other speculations or any other um, theories? It doesn't say that you can't talk about like Chris being possessed by a demon. Like, I whatever. Like the specific one it mentions is what I'm trying to show you guys, and that's why it's so frustrating. And it's got to be frustrating for you guys, and I sincerely apologize for that. But I don't know how to get around it. Like, so why not any other theories? Why that one? Why specifically the one that I'm trying to show you guys, that I'm trying to get out there? Again, to me, it's really telling. And that's when you have to do that ask yourself why thing. Ask yourself, why are the Rusex trying so hard to silence anybody who goes against the official narrative or goes against everything that they say or that's not on their side or anybody that talks about conspiracy theories, and why the Rusex are working with an organization that literally goes around the internet in mass and scrubs conspiracy theories of horrific um, events that all have had a number of holes in their narrative and inconsistencies. Why is that organization, the Honor Network, only advocating for victims and their families in these horrific events? And every single one of them has inconsistencies and holes in their narrative. That I mean, they may be advocating for other people, but on their website it states all of the tragic events that have all been questioned because nothing adds up. But they don't mention like little Mary Lou, who was um, horrifically murdered by her father. Um, are they advocating for that family? Because it doesn't mention Mary Lou anywhere on their website. It only mentions the specific events that have holes in their narrative, just like the Watts case. What are the odds? And is it likely that maybe this organization is not really doing what they're saying they do and that they're advocating? To me, it sounds like they're going around the internet and scrubbing conspiracy theorists. Because I mean, it does literally. I guess they're not lying. It says right on their website they have 300 to 400 volunteers that seek out anyone who questions these events, these tragic events, and who have every right to question the inconsistencies in these tragic events. If shit doesn't add up, we have every right to question it. So, why is it that conspiracy theorists and conspiracy theories, if they're so stupid and they're so ridiculous and silly, then why are they so threatened by them? And why are they trying to silence anybody who speaks of these conspiracy theories? If they're so stupid and we're idiots for questioning inconsistencies, then why not just laugh it off and say, "Oh yeah, you guys are stupid. Whatever. Have fun with your little theories and conspiracy theory." Like, obviously, they're threatened by something if they're trying to stop us from talking about it. And I don't know how many times I've heard people say this has never happened in a true crime case. This is like I've never seen the victim's family act the way they have been in their behavior, like, and trying to stop anybody from talking about it, but only being allowed to talk about the um, narrative. Yeah, sure, you can talk about the case, but you have to just discuss the official narrative, and that's it. And you have to believe the official narrative. But as far as I know, I thought that's what true crime was all about, was talking about the case and speculating that maybe somebody else did it. I whatever, it doesn't matter. All that matters is that you have to ask yourself why they're trying to stop people from talking about the case. And I would be very surprised if, like a year down the road, if my videos weren't gone, if anybody that questions the official narrative aren't gone and scrubbed. Because that's what they've done with all of the other events. And that's why I can't just tell you to go vet the information of what I'm saying, because it used to be out there everywhere. But it's all been taken down. It's all been scrubbed because they don't want people questioning these events. They don't want the truth getting out. They want people to think that someone like me is crazy and I don't know what I'm talking about, and that I'm a horrible person for even questioning or fathoming, or to even fathom, or having even thinking that the official narrative is not true, um, or that something else might have happened that they're telling us. So the event that I followed just as much as this case, if not more, well, now probably this case, but I went down the rabbit hole with this other event that happened before this, before the Watts case. And there used to be videos after videos after videos. I mean, creators were making videos left and right about this event because nothing added up. Same thing with the Watts case. All the like people were trying to solve the whole thing and figure out what happened because they were left with so many unanswered questions and so many holes in the narrative, and they were quote unquote transparent, and they were forced to release all of the body cam footage, all of the, the police report or the case report. Or they called it a fit report. I'm probably just spoke too much there too. The the algorithms will hear me say the FIT word. Um, but yet there was all this information, but so many unanswered questions and nothing added up. And their narrative kept changing, like the same characteristics that I'm seeing with this case. And although it's on a completely different scale and two totally different like situations, like they still use the same patterns and characteristics. And again, like there'll be different characteristics in one than the other because again, they're two different events and they're going to cater to that specific event. But essentially, the ones that I um, made in my or talked about in my red flags video and that I tell you guys all the time, those are like the main consistent ones that they use all the time. So, like I was saying, there were so many videos that creators were making, just like the Watts case, just like we're doing now. They've all been scrubbed. Like 98% of them have been scrubbed. When I was making my video to compare that with this case, I I had such a hard time finding sources for you guys because nothing, it's gone, scrubbed. The only videos that are left up from that event are ones that are with the official narrative or that are mainstream media and ones that aren't talking conspiracy theories or again questioning the official narrative. They're gone. And as I was saying, I would be shocked if a year from now most of these videos of all these theories and questioning of uh, what the hell happened in this case, I'd be surprised if they're not all gone. And it's already happening. I mean, you already had Netflix coming out and trying to scare people and threaten people that they own the content. Bullshit. Like, it's public records. You don't own public records. But there's been several people that were making videos on this case every day and they're gone. And I know I'm not going to mention their names, but most of you know um, who I'm talking about. There's a couple of them. So something spooked them or something happened to just completely just stop talking about the case altogether. And sooner or later, there's first that person, then there's going to be that person, and then um, they're going to be gone. And if they aren't, then I'll be the first to say I was wrong. But um, I could already see it when Frank Rusek did that interview in front of the House and asked people to stop talking about the case. That was the first step to taking away a portion of our free speech and dropping the hint to back off the conspiracy theories because they said, oh, you can talk about the case as long as you're respectful and you agree with us and you agree with law enforcement. Well, sorry, I don't agree. So, and then the next clue was the Ruseks working with the Honor Network, who again, main goal is to scrub any information of conspiracy talk or anything like that. So you have to like, even though I'm all over the place all the time, again, I do have a point to my madness, but if something doesn't seem right or it seems off, it's probably because it is. So for instance, if it doesn't seem like logical or likely that Chris could do all of this in the amount of time that he had, then it's probably because he didn't have enough time and because it because it didn't blank. Um, and I can totally see where all the theories come in as far as like he had help because it doesn't make sense because he didn't have enough time. So logically, maybe he did have an accomplice, and I get that. That would be my first theory or my first thought. Well, the logical thing is if he couldn't do it by himself, then he had help, and I get that. And if you put like everything that I have told you guys, like all like there's just so much, but the predictive programming, the breadcrumbs, the you know, like if you ever question what I'm saying, like go back and remember the American Horror Story connections. Like they're not coincidental. Like there's too many, they're too exact, they're too spot on. And they showed us that video on Nate's TV because they wanted us to go and watch that show. A, it promoted the show, and B, they wanted to find all their little clever little breadcrumbs and subliminal messages, whatever. It wasn't by accident. Again, mostly everything in this case was put there for a reason and it means something. So, and again, not to get off track, but that American Horror Story clip coming on HTV was the icing on the cake for me in this case. I had speculation that something was up after the body cam footage and Nate's footage, but that was like psh, icing on the cake. And then once I watched all of American Horror Story, yep, Dunzo. Sorry, I don't care what you tell me, but you're not convincing me because it's too obvious. And how can that and don't get me wrong, I believe in the paranormal. I believe in um like I don't that that kind of stuff, but in this particular situation, it wasn't anything spiritual or paranormal. Like it was put there for us to see on purpose. And now I just got off track and I forgot what I was saying. Oh, yes. So if you ever question like or on the fence about what I'm saying, revert back to the predictive programming, the like all the breadcrumbs that I've told you guys. Like, and I know they're spread out, and I probably should have just put them all in one, but I kept finding them as I go along, as the case progressed. So I would just put them in this video, and then I'd find more, and then I put them in another video. Like that's how many there are. Like they haven't stopped, and I'm still finding them. But so the predictive programming, the commercial coming on the TV, the all of the other similarities to all the other um, high profile serial killers, and what are the odds that several people in this case like bear the same name, either first and last or last name of other infamous serial killers? What are the odds that Chris's birthday is the same as H.H. Holmes, the serial killer way back in the day. Um, what are the odds that Shanann was born on the same exact day, month, year that the guy killed that woman that Tammy mentions to Chris and says, "Did you hear about that guy in Aurora who killed that family with a ball peen hammer? And the only one to survive was the young girl." And Chris says, "No, I never," and like that's another one of those things where I was like, "That's weird. Why would Tammy mention that?" And I've said this before, but if you ever find yourself going, "That's weird. This doesn't make sense," that's a pretty big clue that that's one of their little breadcrumbs that they're leaving. And I know it sounds crazy, but it's not. If you guys will just stick it out with me, I promise you guys will have a different outlook entirely on this case. So just try to be patient with me. But so yeah, so you have Chris having the same birthday as this infamous serial killer, and then Shanann's born on the same day of the serial or the murder that about that. I don't. Do you guys know what I'm talking about? I think is the Bennett family. Um, so Tammy brings that up to Chris, and Chris says, "Oh no, I never heard of it." Like, um, so just going, okay, well, maybe I should research what this case, because I don't know what case Tammy's talking about. So I just put in ball peen hammer, Aurora, in whatever year, So I just put in keywords, and it came up, and just reading, like I think it was the first webpage I found. It goes on to explain that before this guy had killed the family that Tammy mentions to Chris, he had actually broke into other homes prior to that and actually um, like really badly injured like another person. But then after that, and before he murdered that family, the Bennett family, he broke into a woman's home and killed her. I mean, they found this all out later, but killed her, and um, she was born he killed her on the day that Shanann was born, January 10th, 1984. Like that year, that day. So it's almost like maybe the symbology thing coming in here, like give a life or take a life, a new one's born. Everything is symbolic to these people that are controlling the narrative. Everything means something. So if Tammy says something that sounds weird or specific and she mentions it to Chris, then it means something. And people can say, well, Megan, it's probably just a coincidence that this guy just happened to uh, kill a woman that was born on the same exact day that Shanann was born. Yeah, it totally could be. But add that to everything else that I've told you guys and put it all together. Like there's only so many times that there's a coincidence until it's just not. You got to go, okay, something isn't right here. Why are there so many coincidental things in this case, and why is everything so that's what I really need you guys to remember if you ever are on the fence about what I'm saying. Like put everything surrounding it into that thing you're questioning. Does that make sense? Oh my gosh, and now I'm gonna be all caught like weird about saying that now. And there's just like I have a difficult time because there's so many that we would be here for. I've already been on here for 3 hours. We'd be here all night long until tomorrow. We'd be here till Christmas. And that's not okay. Maybe it's over exaggerating a little bit, but um, there's so many that I mean, it's overwhelming, you guys. And again, there's so many times that it can happen until they're not it, the whole coincidental thing. It's not. It's just thrown out the window because it happens too much, and it's again overwhelming. And not only that, but again, that's another one of the characteristics to look out for. Um, you know, 13s and 33s popping up, and I know it sounds crazy, but it's what they do. It's their little game. Their occult symbolism. Like there's only so many times that certain numbers can add up to 13 and 33 and 11 and like all these common occult numbers. Like um, and I know that gematria thing is kind of, that's wishy-washy, but um, you have to learn gematria from the correct people. And I'm not even going to go into that, sorry. But in these events, you're almost always, I can't say for everyone or every event, but almost always or usually you're going to find the numerology and the occult symbolism um, in these events. And I've made a whole video on the symbolism in this case. And I could give you a couple, and if I lose people, sorry, but um, I might as well. I'm here. I might as well just do it, right? Um, you guys have my attention here. Um, oh, but going back to the earlier question, and who asked me that? Uh, poet, poet. I'm sorry, guys. I'm terrible. But the oil tank question, something I noticed, and maybe I shouldn't even bring this up because again, this is going into a whole other area of it. But in the discovery, we know that he put them in separate oil tanks, right? So in the event prior to this, there were, see, and I can't even talk about this because if I bring up the certain club that everyone's speculating that um, Kessinger's father might be in, now I'm talking in code and we're playing like the password game. And isn't this fun? No, it's not fun. And I love games. That certain club, like there's pillars, there's a pair, like two pillars, right? Um, first word, two syllables, and it's a movie. No, there's two pillars that this club yeah, that they um, anyways, they're the Masonic pillars. Okay, I'm just gonna say it. In the event prior to this, the one that I talked about earlier, behind where all of it happened, there were two large. I don't know exactly. They're like lookout towers or something. I don't know. They were just very skinny and they had like a spiral staircase to go up. I don't know exactly what the purpose of them were for, but they're like, kind of like lighthouse shape, but skinnier. And then the spiral staircase, and then it just leads up, and then there's like an open window or something. And there's, okay, I'm not going to get into that. Wow. I'm going to end this soon. I promise. um, and all like a lot of the images in that event of like uh, video footage and pictures taken from helicopter, like behind it where this tragic event happened, you see those two towers and which represent the Masonic pillars. And now I'm not going to go into all of them, but I just want to give you an example. Um, that's just one of the one example of the occult symbolism that they used in that event prior to the Watts case. Now, we have the girls being put into the oil tanks. We have side-by-side water tanks, possibly representing the Masonic pillars. Um, and again, like that is stuff like this is obviously going to be like I can't prove that that's specifically why they put the girls in, or allegedly put the girls in there, and I can't prove that they're really symbolizing the Masonic pillars. But if you know how they each time use all this symbolism in these events, then it's more believable and more likely. Do you see what I'm saying? Because it's all about symbolism to them. That's what you guys need to realize, is that they just, like, I don't know. They're just all about it. It's like their thing. I don't know. I don't someone else might have that answer that knows more about the occult symbolism and the I don't know. The people that orchestrate these events, that's what they do. That's all I can say. Um, but in the discovery, and I didn't find this out until a lot later. Didn't even cross my mind um, until I finally realized that most of what they're saying in this case means something. So in the discovery, it says, and I don't remember which one is which, but when they're talking about the hazmat team taking the girls out of the tank, it specifically says that one of the girls was face down in the oil in the tank, and then the other, and again, like I said, I don't remember which one's which, but and the other one was face up. And if you're not familiar with as above, so below, that's exactly what that means. Like, what are the odds that there's another, not only the pillars, but then you have one of the girls face down and one of the girls face up, and they're all about that as above, so below. I mean, just, and I'm not going to go into the detail about that. If you just Google it, you'll find a lot of information on it. But um, so again, they're all about symbolism. The breadcrumbs thing, that's new to me. But I am going to end this because I hate making it this long, because I know people don't want to sit through a 3-hour live, and like, unless you're like in the chat. Okay. I've said this before, but what they are doing, if you're not familiar with American Horror Story, if you haven't seen it, the producers of the show, Ryan Murphy and Brad Falchuk, growing up, they were always watched like classic horror films. So they were like raised on horror films. And that's like, you know, they both have always just, again, they were raised on it, they always watch it, they're just like infatuated with horror films, right? So that being said, they get a lot of their inspiration for American Horror Story from either classic horror films or just horror films. Um, but also they get inspiration for the show from real life serial killers, murderers. Like, doesn't matter, OJ, Manson. Like, there's a whole episode in the season of Cult where um, one episode is about Manson, another one is about Jim Jones. Like, so, and they've spoken about this in interviews where they get their inspiration. So they are doing the same thing in the Watts case that they are essentially doing, that the two producers of American Horror Story are doing in their show, in the show. So the producers get inspiration from the classic horror films and infamous serial killers and cult leaders, use that in the show. They're doing the same thing. So they are using classic horror films and real life serial killers and murderers and have incorporated it into the Watts narrative. And I know this sounds crazy, but if you watch my other videos that I've made, they make more sense because I'm not rambling in them. um, so they're doing the same thing. And there's like, again, I'm not going to go into it, but there's so much, like, I'm still finding them. But like, once you guys realize this, like, you're gonna have, I promise you, if you stick it out with me, you're gonna have a different, um, you're gonna look at the case like a lot differently because, and once you realize, or if you do realize, not once you realize, I'm not like saying you're going to, but I mean, if you do, great. But um, if you do start to, if I do start to actually make sense for once to you guys, um, you're going to have a different outlook. And not only that, but you're probably going to be a little, actually a lot pissed off because, and that's why I'm so passionate about it. And that's why I'm pissed off. And that's why I get like heated up about it because what they're doing is they're mocking us. They're throwing these breadcrumbs in there and they're like making a game out of it. Like, so if you've watched my, one of my most recent videos, I said it's all a game to them. They they've left us all these breadcrumbs and I don't know the purpose because not everybody is gonna find them. Like, yeah, I notice them, but so it's like almost like, why do they do this? What is the point? I don't know. I can't answer that question. All I know is that that's what they're doing. So I will give a couple examples like um, Otto Wilson is one of the officers that worked on the case that you can find in the discovery. Otto Wilson is an infamous serial killer. If you go to like Murderpedia, a website that I found researching this case, it lists, I don't know how recent the update on it is, but because I've looked and Chris Watts isn't in there, but go figure, right? If they want to be factual, then I guess I can't put them in there. But, and it's not just like serial killers, like some people have only killed 2 people or 1 person, but um, I just started looking up names, and a lot of the names are weird names, like that I've never even heard before. Granted, there's a lot of weird, crazy last names out there, but so I just Otto Wilson in the, into internet search. First thing that came up was serial killer on Murderpedia. Um, then you have Officer um, Ted Bundy. Sounds a lot like another infamous, I guess not murderer because he's never. Anyways, Ted Bundy sounds a lot like Ted Bundy. Um, and granted, and I could say, oh, Megan, that's kind of stretching. It's not the exact name, but I think that if they put Ted Bundy in the case, that would be probably a little bit too obvious. Um, another example is uh, Officer Katie. It's it's a Ukrainian last name, so I'm probably going to botch it, but I think it's just pronounced Tack. It's like Tajck. It's, I don't know how to pronounce it. But so what I did, I put that last name in internet search. First thing that came up on the search, Sergey Tack. Ukrainian serial killer who murdered 23 people in Ukraine. So what are the odds now that we have one person, an officer in the case that has both first and last name of a serial killer, and then we have Miss Katie Tack that bears the same last name as a serial killer that killed 23 people in Ukraine. Um, Purple Butterfly, I just saw in the chat. Ken doll. You have the Ken and Barbie doll um, killers. Was it Paul Bernardo and like something I can't remember the other. Don't make me think right now. Someone in the chat will know. But yeah, so you have the Ken and the couple that was dubbed the Ken and Barbie doll, right? Oh, and not only that, but Paul Bernardo, I think I'm saying that right. His father's name was Kenneth Doll. I kid you not. I can't make this stuff up if I wanted to. Um, like there's just so many. I don't. That's why I get so like flustered because there's like so much to put out there that it's overwhelming. I'm trying to think of the other murder names. Like, but there's so not only is there the serial killer. Oh my god, I just remembered so much more. You have the Zodiac tip that's in there, and American Horror Story. They did a whole entire episode on the Zodiac killer, and I could go into the whole anagram thing, but I'm not going to because I'm frustrated with that because I know that I'm really close to solving the anagram and that whole thing. And if you guys don't know what I'm talking about, I'm sorry, but um, and what are the odds that there's another serial killer mentioned in the Watts narrative and just some random person called in and started talking about the Zodiac killer? Like, come on. Like, again, now we're at to the point where it's not coincidental anymore. It's silly at this point, you guys. It's ridiculous. And it is not only ridiculous, but it infuriates me because again, they're throwing it in our faces and they're essentially mocking us. Like, haha, like you're believing all this that we're telling you and we're throwing all these little breadcrumbs and we think we're so clever and there's nothing you can do about it. Like that absolutely infuriates me to no end. Um, as it should anybody. But so not only are they using several other like serial killer references, but they're also just like they do in American Horror Story, incorporated situations from or scenarios or from other um, infamous cases. So, um, like you have all the Scott Peterson similarities that um, resembles, that Chris resembles, like or Shanann being pregnant with a boy, and like there's just I just don't even want to get into it because there's so many. But if you guys go back and watch my videos, like they're there. And then I've even posted some in the community part section because I just kept finding them and I just didn't want to make a video on them because they just keep coming. Um, like there's uh, Amanda Thayer in her interview with Nick. She It was so weird to me because she's only wearing one earring and she's got like really like the large earlobes and she takes her hand and brushes her hair behind her ear and you can clearly see that this woman is only wearing one earring, right? And I'm like, poor thing, why didn't anybody tell this woman she's only got one earring in for her TV interview, right? Well, come to find out, um, Nicole Simpson was missing a diamond earring when they found her in the O.J. Simpson case. Like these are like, and I know that sounds crazy, but again, put that with all of the other breadcrumbs that they leave, and that's when you start to say, okay, yeah, that's weird. But like, did no one tell her that she's missing an earring? So like, this is their clever little game. And again, I don't like to give them any credit for anything, but it's actually quite amazing how they incorporate all this stuff into this. But again, they are planned years in advance. So um, all of it is orchestrated, and even the body camera footage is. But we've obviously seen flaws in the body cam footage, so and mistakes are bound to happen. Just like when Coonrod comes up the stairs and Chris goes, "Oh, I found her phone," and he goes, "Oh shit," or shoot, and then he just kind of like shrugs it off and then goes into the laundry room and looks around. Like, is that a normal reaction from a police officer? You think he'd be like, "Oh, you found her phone? Oh, that's okay. Can I see it? Can I look?" Like, his Coonrod's reaction going, "Oh shoot," and then keep like, why would he keep walking past Chris when the phone is probably really significant, as far as like what happened to her, or like, see what I'm saying? Um, so it's things like that, to where, because they had to do it, they can't add you can edit the body cam footage, but people will notice. Um, just as we've all noticed these inconsistencies. Like, the first thing that people are going to look at when they're suspicious of body cam footage is the timestamp. So if anybody sees any glitch, or it jumps, or there's numbers missing, they know that people are going to notice that. So the hardest part of the whole thing would probably have been the body cam footage, because they had one take and one take only. So like, not only do we have Coonrod acting weird when Chris finds the phone, as if it wasn't that timing. Like, the timing was like, and Coonrod was like, "Chris, that wasn't your cue." Like, it's not time yet for the phone part. Like, and I know that sounds crazy, but it makes a lot of sense once you start thinking about everything else that I'm saying. Um, and then you have the whole purse thing, and then like, it was in the office, and then all of a sudden, Nicole Atkinson's story is not making sense. Like, but in order to convince the masses that what they're seeing is real, the best way to do that is with live, you know, body cam footage. And like, because then people are going to say, but I saw it on the body cam footage. I mean, it's not live, but you see what I'm saying? Oh my gosh. Another example is Chris's weird, awkward smiling on the body cam footage. And I know that all of the professionals, the psychiatrists, quote unquote, and the ones that guests on Dr. Phil all say that he's a covert narcissist, and that he's so sick in the head and so sick minded that he's smiling when his family's missing. Like, because the professionals say that that means that it's right, right? No, absolutely not. Like, they're on Dr. Phil to push the narrative, to push Dr. Phil's narrative, to convince people that watch the show, because again, people are more likely to listen to professionals who allegedly know what they're talking about, compared to someone like myself, who's not a psychologist, but am smart enough to um, notice patterns, and think that it could be possibly something else for his smiling, other than just that he's a sick individual, who, by the way, never showed any violent tendencies in his past, or anything that would remotely make him to look out or to become like a to murder his entire family. Um, it's just automatically, oh, he's just a narcissist. He's just a piece of shit. Like, or could it possibly be due to the fact that he's not the your best Oscar-winning actor, and that when you have people that aren't Oscar-winning actors, they'll get this thing called duper's delight, and one reason for it could be because they're nervous. Another reason could be because they are thinking at the time how they are about to or have already gotten away with fooling like thousands or millions of people into thinking that what they're saying is true, and not having experience that other actors do. And I don't like to say actor because I don't want people to just think that I'm saying that he's a C actor. Letter C, not SEA, letter C. Um, I mean, he's like no George Clooney, you know what I'm saying? So um, you'll see that a lot in these events. They'll get duper's delight, and I don't know if they know they're doing it or if they can't control it, but it's another one of those things that to look out for, and lack of emotion, and so on and so forth. And then we're gonna be here all night. Hopefully, you guys don't have anywhere to go. I'm just kidding. Okay, yeah. So I'm just gonna end it there because I'm just like going off on just like, and I'm all over the place, and I tell myself every time not to do that, but it's just so difficult because again, there's so much information. But thanks for being here with me, everybody. I appreciate it. I don't know if any issues in the chat. I haven't even been able to barely even look at it. So hopefully everything was okay. Okay, so there's a comment by Do Jane. What about him lying about going to China for the summer when he was a young boy? In my opinion, they, and again, that's another one of those things that they put in there specifically because they, in my opinion, want us to believe that he was capable of fooling people in his past, even as a child. So it's all psychological. Just remember that this whole thing is psychological. It's all to sway opinions, make us believe whatever they want us to believe. And it might be subliminal, it might be obvious, but in my opinion, again, that's to subconsciously make us believe that he's, or maybe not even subconsciously, but to kind of almost prove to us that he is someone who is capable of lying, and not only in the past, but being even able to fool someone like his teacher as a child. Do you see what I'm saying? That's like the two words, the two phrases of the day. You see what I'm saying? And yeah, hopefully that makes sense though. Um, but again, that's just my opinion. And even let's say I'm wrong about that. Either way, he's obviously, if you want to go based on the official narrative, he's a pathological liar. So we can automatically assume that that's probably false, anyways. But based on my theory, I think it's to, sorry about the train, get us to believe that if he can fool his teacher as a child, that he might be able to fool not only us, but law enforcement as well. But that's a good question. Thank you. And again, I can't promise I'm gonna have all the answers. to your guys' questions, but I will try to answer them to the best of my ability. And if I don't know for a fact, then I'm gonna say I don't know, like, or that it's just a theory, or I'm not gonna. I'll speculate, but I'm not gonna try to say that it's a fact. So I'll just see if there's like any more questions, and then I'll end this and get some water because I'm a little parched. Octavia said Murderpedia. Yeah, it's question mark. I know, right? I didn't even know that it existed until researching this case, but it's murderpedia.com, and it has from um, A to Z, just a list of um, murderers and serial killers over the years, and it has, how many people they killed, how they did it, their conviction, a- and it's like the Wikipedia for murderers. And then it has a description, some are long, some are short, of the events that unfolded. Um, there's a ton of them on there, but I don't know how recent it's been updated, but you could just, they have a list from A to Z, and then you can also do choose male or female. Um, I spent some time on there one day just clicking on random ones, reading about them. But okay, I don't know who John Blaze is, and I don't know why they're asking someone to take a dump on his chest, but maybe I shouldn't delete it. I'll keep reading it then if not. But that just doesn't seem like it's really true crime. Actually, I don't even really care. I'm not even gonna freak out about stuff like that. It reminds me of Scary Movie. She's like, I want you to take a dump on my chest. He's like, what? Okay, sorry. Um, oh, Drive Through Poet. That, I'm sorry, that's the one who asked me about the girls in the tanks. Yes. Thank you for that question. Is there any DLive discussion planned? Not sure exactly what you mean by that. Like, as far as like itinerary goes, or as far as scheduling it? I don't even know if you're still here, but if you are, could you elaborate on that? Um, okay. Yeah, I'll just go through the chat again because I have almost four, oh my God, 4 hours. That's terrible. Um, I don't know if I'll keep this one up or not because I don't think anybody wants to sit through 4 hours, but I might. Um, but yeah, so I'll go through and go through the chat again, and I promise, if anybody has any questions, I will write them down. And hey, T, and I can either try to answer them next time with the best of my ability, or um, I can answer them on DLive. And I know that, and I don't expect everybody to go to DLive. It's a change, and everybody has like juggles other accounts and stuff. I know it's a pain in the butt, but it's like the only option I like really have right now as far as not being censored. So, um, but yeah, so I will go back and look at the questions, and please don't think that I'm ever ignoring you guys in the chat, because I'm not. I just get on my rants, and then I don't want to have the awkward pausing, like scrolling through the chat. So yeah, so please don't think I'm ever ignoring your guys' questions, because I'm not. But thank you all for being here for whether it was 5 minutes or the whole thing. I appreciate all of your support, and yeah, so much. I appreciate it so much. But I will, oh, thank you, mods, and I will see you guys next time. Stay safe.